On the never-ending quest to tackle all the Vancouver Canucks drama, we have ourselves another video topic that I wanted to dive into that goes over the timeline. With all the canon events, absolute points, and multiversal threats imaginable, today we are reviewing the entire story. At least, the story so far, as courtesy of a summary posted onto Reddit by Away from Canuck. The reason we're going over this is because I saw this and I was like, hey, this is actually a really informative overview for everything going on in Vancouver Canucks hockey, so any Canucks fan that's like a little bit newer or needs a little bit of a refresher, hey, don't worry fam, Away from Canuck has got you here. But the unfortunate part is, they actually posted this thread on a deleted R-Hockey Reddit post by SealDodger47, Cam Robinson, a dressing room divide so vast that Pettersson and Miller can't even play on the same power play. It's unfathomable. We spoke about this tweet in yesterday's videos, but the top comment from Away from Canuck does go out and give ourselves the outline. It's the full-on timeline as to everything that has been going on with this team, the JT Miller drama, and what has been done. Here's number 1. Rumors that the Vancouver Canucks locker room is like a country club while Jim Benning is at the helm. This was a few years ago, and yes, I do very much remember a lot of those talks that the Canucks and their organization, they were run by a guy that couldn't make any good trades. He was trading away all the future assets. He was acquiring expensive guys like Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Louis Eriksson, and then he traded for OEL in a last-ditch one-more-try Hail Mary move to try to make the playoffs, and lo and behold, it didn't work. There was an entire report going around that the team was kind of disjointed, dysfunctional, there was a country club vibe. These players would show up to the rink not really putting in all their effort and not really looking like they're super engaged. And, you know, you don't want to be compared to a country club. Country club is normally where people go to have a good time and to relax, not to play a professional sport at the highest level in the world. Definitely not an ideal situation. Number 2. The rumor about the Canucks locker room being a country club is basically confirmed after Benning is fired and Rutherford and Alvin put a heavy emphasis on improving the organization, putting in the work, etc. Now, around this time, Bruce Boudreau was also still there. He was initially a Benning hire, but after Benning got the can, it was a pretty, let's just say, surprising decision for Patrick Alvin and Rutherford to keep Boudreau around. There were initially talks that, they might bring their own guy in and Boudreau might get the can too, but Boudreau stuck around in Vancouver a little bit longer than Jim Benning did, or not in terms of the time, but in terms of the timeline. Yeah, no, Benning was around in Vancouver for like 7 years or whatever it was. Boudreau, while only being around for 3, did outlast Benning by the time Alvin and Rutherford came in. The comments from these new executives are putting a big emphasis on building better habits and having a stronger work ethic and all these things that directly contradicted the idea of having a country club in the locker room. Here's point number 3, as written by Away from Canuck. Miller has temper tantrums on the ice during the season with Bruce. Luke Schenn and Miller get into a screaming match on the ice during a losing streak, which is broken up by Connor Garland. This, I'm pretty sure, is also the season where JT Miller ended up, slamming the back of the net in order to demand the goalie, Colin Delia, to go to the bench to get the extra attacker in a game against Winnipeg. That was maybe, I think, the pinnacle JT Miller temper tantrum that we had seen, and there were many other instances where, Miller wouldn't be banging his stick on the net yelling at his team, but he would be yelling at himself. He'd make a bad play, he'd make a bad read, he'd give the puck up, and then skating over to the bench, he'd yell at the top of his lungs, the loudest voice in the damn arena. It would be picked up by all the microphones, and everybody at home would be hearing, Miller just did it again. He just cursed the lights out. Again. And around this time, we had started to see more controversy. The team wasn't playing particularly their best. Miller had a bad year after having a near 100-point season the year before that. He got into it with Luke Schenn, and rumors then emerged about a locker room rift between Bo Horvat and JT Miller. These rumors went quiet after Bo Horvat got traded. The thing is, with the Horvat situation, it seemed a lot like there was this Miller versus Horvat angle that was starting to creep into the Vancouver media. And this was also supplemented by the fact that both of these guys' contracts were in need of being extended. And at some point, Vancouver just put their foot down and said, okay, we're going to extend Miller. We're going to give him 7 years. We're going to give him $8 million a season. Bo, sorry, we're not going to give you that money. And Bo eventually got a bigger contract with the New York Islanders after getting traded over there. The Vancouver Canucks essentially chose JT over Bo. Their captain, their 2013 first-round pick, the guy who had been born and bred with the Sedin twins, and a guy who was ultimately one of the better leaders in the NHL. They chose Miller over him, and that was seen as a pretty bad move right away because the year before JT's contract extension kicked in, that was the bad tantrum year. And to be fair, the first year of JT Miller's actual $8 million AAV extension was great. That was the 100-point season that he had last year, but all of those demons from 2 years ago certainly still existed in the minds of Canucks fans. And so we move on to point number 5. There are reports of Miller getting on Petey in practice earlier this season to try to get Petey going. Miller then takes a leave of absence in November, and there are rumors around the league that Petey and Miller are having issues. This was reported earlier in the season where JT Miller and Pettersson got into a shoving match in practice, which eventually ended in JT calling Pettersson a baby. And that was the very particular word that was thrown around there, a baby. Now, whether or not you want to say that's correct or wrong or right or whatever, the fact is it happened, and when you think about some of the other comments that have been made by analysts and Bruce Boudreau himself, it's been very apparent that over the past few years, from the Travis Green days to the Boudreau days, extending into the Tocchet days, that JT and Elias Pettersson are definitely not good friends. They're not guys that will hang out with each other in their off time. They don't have things in common. They just happen to be teammates, the most expensive forwards on an NHL team, and they both happen to have 100-point seasons under their belts. Here's number 6. Elias Pettersson has looked completely different since Miller returned to the lineup, and yesterday Petey was taken off the first power play and put onto the power play second unit. Number 7, Bruce Boudreau, the former Canucks head coach, made comments yesterday alluding to there having always been issues between those two. And so I think a lot of these sentiments have been sprouting out of the ground lately because, of course, it's the hot topic. We are now seeing Bruce Boudreau confirming stuff and going over some of what he'd been hearing over the past few years. He did say, after all, that there was already some sort of a thing going on between Petey and JT. Some of the comments in the replies go out there and ask this: do Canucks fans think there's traction behind all these rumors about Miller? And if so, do they think it's worth it having all this drama and making personnel moves to keep him happy? I'm so out of the loop on Western Conference teams. The top reply says, there's definitely some truth to the rumors regarding Miller. Everyone knows that he can be a dick or an a-hole, and that can wear thin on people. You'll get mixed answers from Canucks fans, though. Some will say that Petey is soft, and he should suck it up and be better because he's paid $11 million. And others will say to ship out Miller because he's already 31 and not worth the headache. And this is where opinions will diverge, because I have spoken about this in previous videos, but I have personal friends that talk to me, they ask me my opinion, they bring it up in the Discord, they bring it up on the game chat, they ask me about it on text messages, they bring it up to me in real life. Hey, Petey and Miller, who would you rather trade if you had to get rid of one because you need to? Or maybe you don't need to. Maybe you get rid of both. Maybe you sit them down and you say, stop it, shut up guys, just be good together. Just allow yourselves to play well together. Maybe that's also an effective solution, but there are a lot of people that are saying, okay, we gotta trade Miller. The guy's a cancer, the guy's a toxic player. There were already reports about him having a bad attitude in Tampa and in New York, and now it's brought over here in Vancouver, and he's bringing down the top paid player in Elias Pettersson. You gotta get rid of this guy. And then there are others saying, well, Miller is cheaper than Petey. Petey is soft, he falls down, and he is not a game changer. He needs to toughen up to be a lot more like Miller. It all depends on what your opinions are. But for now, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the timeline of JT Miller versus Elias Pettersson, plus the Bo Horvat stuff in there too. What are your thoughts about this entire conversation? Let me know in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. and bye.